So picture the conference room, Friday afternoon. The Chubb estimates printed out and spread across the whole table. Coffee. Gil's still got tar on his hands.
I have always got tar on my hands. It's a lifestyle.
And I asked the room one question to start. On a $300,000 roof, cedar, copper, scaffolding, multiple crews up a 45-degree cliff, how much overhead and profit do you think Chubb paid the contractor on this first estimate?
I mean, 10 and 10, right? That's standard. So 60, 70,000 total.
Zero.
Zero?
$0, zero overhead, zero profit. On a roof that physically cannot be built without a general contractor running 4 trades.
That's not a margin. That's not even a tip. That's a dare.
And that was on my estimate the whole time?
Hiding in plain sight, D. And by the end of this room, we'd turned that zero into 70 grand, built a $134,000 supplement, and handed it back to Chubb with citations attached. This is the war room. So here's how I run the room. The carrier's estimate isn't an insult, it's a map. It tells you exactly how they think, what they measured, and where they got quiet. And quiet is where the money hides.
Gerard treats it like a treasure map where X marks, they hoped you wouldn't read this part. Such.
Brent loves a treasure map. Look at him. That's the most emotion he's shown all quarter.
I'm focused.
You're buffering. There's a difference.
And you don't do all this by hand anymore, right? I've seen your setup.
I let the robots do the flossing. I run the whole estimate through AI. Every line, every Xactimate code, cross-referenced against the manufacturer's specs, the CSSB manual, the copper standards, the building code. 40 pages, and it flags every spot the carrier got creative in about 4 seconds. Like a heat map of where they hid the money.
And then Gerard, the actual human, decides which fights are worth having.
Right, the AI finds the suspects. I build the case. See, the carrier thinks they're arguing with a contractor. They're arguing with a contractor, a code library, and a very patient algorithm that doesn't get tired, doesn't get intimidated, and doesn't accept that's just our policy as a sentence that means anything. It's profoundly unfair. I love it so much. We're hunting 4 things. The waste factor, that's way too skinny. The overhead and profit massacre, which on this estimate is a flat 0. The copper craft and code items they left off entirely. And the trap I know is coming the second we submit, the salvage credit. That one's Gil's personal nemesis.
It's Gerard's nemesis. I just hold his coat.
It's a shared nemesis. Let's go to work.
Start with the biggest line on the whole thing. Replace. Wood shakes. 3/4 to 1 1/4. 24-inch, 7.5 exposure. 87.38 squares at $17.74. 91 a square. $155,000. One line.
And there's a little note under it.
Includes 10% waste on quantity. 10%.
On this roof, Gil, explain waste to the people.
Waste is the extra material you buy because you cut pieces and the scraps hit the dumpster. On a simple roof, 2 big flat planes, 10% is plenty. You barely throw anything away. But Dee's roof,
My beautiful, complicated, murderous roof.
over 300 feet of valley, 63 squares, steeper than a 12-12. Hips, dormers, crickets, a standing seam section. Every valley, I'm trimming each cedar shake to a diagonal, and that offcut is gone. Every hip, same. On a cut-up cedar roof like this, real-world waste is 15 to 20%, sometimes more.
So put $1 on the gap.
The cedar field is around 155 grand of material and labor before you even argue waste. Going from 10% to 15, that's 5 points. 5% of that is real money. Call it 7, 8 grand. And 15's conservative on this thing. Push it to 20, which is defensible, and you're into real 5 figures.
And here's why we win it. It's not an opinion. Waste isn't a vibe. The valley footage is on Chubb's own estimate, 315 feet. The pitch breakdown, 63 squares over 1212, on their own estimate. So we don't say, I feel like there's more waste. We say, your document lists 315 feet of valley and 63 squares over a 1212. Industry standard waste for that geometry is 15 to 20%. 10% is not supportable. Here's the corrected number.
We hand them their own homework with the wrong answer circled in red.
And the same skinny 10% shows up on the ridge and hip cap. 556 feet of it. Cap on a cut-up roof weighs more too. Every little 10% is a brick. Stack enough bricks, you've built a wall of money.
Now the big one. The one from the cold open, overhead and profit.
Okay, real question. What even is O&P? Because customers ask me this every week.
Great question. Overhead and profit, O&P, usually 10 and 10, is the contractor's cost of running a business plus actually making a living. And the industry standard, which has been argued in courtrooms, is this. When a job is complex enough that a reasonable person would hire a general contractor to coordinate multiple trades, O&P applies to the whole job. The classic trigger is 3 or more trades.
D's job is roofing, architectural sheet metal, soldered copper fabrication, scaffolding, multiple crews over 90 squares. If that's not needs a general contractor, nothing on earth is.
Exactly, so O&P should be 10% and 10% of the whole job, 20% combined. On this subtotal, that's $70,209. 70 grand owed.
And what did they actually apply?
Nothing. Not a sliver, not a token. The overhead column on this first estimate is 0, top to bottom. The profit column is 0. They wrote a $400,000 restoration and budgeted nothing for the person who has to run it.
No GC, no coordinator, just vibes and a 45-degree roof.
And here's the dirty little sequel. When we pushed, they found some. They came back later and grudgingly sprinkled in a token 10 and 10, about $39.61 each, but only after stamping the big lines excluded from O&P calculation. That little phrase is the most expensive, boring sentence in insurance. But on this first estimate, they didn't even bother to hide it. It was a flat 0.
So someone just left it at 0 on my whole estimate?
Someone chose 0, D. That's not a typo. That's a setting. That's a human being deciding the contractor who coordinates 4 trades on a 90-square cliff deserves nothing for it, like a tiny villain with a spreadsheet.
That's so quietly evil.
It's the most expensive, boring number in insurance. And here's how we fight it, not with anger, with the standard. We write, this project involves roofing, architectural sheet metal, soldered copper fabrication, scaffolding, and coordination across multiple trades over 90 squares of steep, complex roof. It plainly requires general contractor oversight. O&P is therefore owed on the full replacement cost value, not zeroed out. Please apply 10 and 10 to the total and reissue.
See, that right there is Brent's superpower. He just read the single most enraging sentence in this entire document in the voice of a man describing a really nice nap.
Anger doesn't get reimbursed, Gil. Documentation does.
That should go on your tombstone. Real quiet font, so nobody even notices it's there.
And the gap between their O&P and real O&P is $70,000. 70. This one item is the single biggest piece of the whole supplement. Bigger than the waste, bigger than all of the copper. And almost every homeowner scrolls right past it because it reads like accounting gibberish.
Boredom is camouflage.
The most expensive words in insurance are always the most boring ones. Write that down.
Okay, my neighborhood, the copper. This is where craft and money shake hands and I get a little choked up.
Walk me through what's even up there.
Standing seam copper roofing, 7.5 squares at 34. 94 a square, that's 26 grand for a back section. Copper Valley flashing 315 feet at 44.56. Half round copper gutter, 6-inch 435 feet at 47.77, almost 21 grand. 157 feet of round copper downspout, step flashing roof to wall, transition at 16 ounce, cricket at 20 ounce, copper chimney flashings, copper pipe jacks.
It really is a copper house with a wood hat.
Perfect description. And here's the thing, the carrier mostly got the copper items right. Real copper, correct weights, correct lengths, credit where it's due. But there are 2 places copper money went missing, and the first one is everything they left off.
Because installing this copper right takes a whole list of things that aren't on the carrier's estimate at all. So we add them. Copper cleats and Z closures, 250 feet at $26, $6,500. Stainless clips, hand seaming, high temp sealant, $4,000. Shop fabrication and solder labor, $2,800. And stainless fasteners throughout. 87 squares at 40 a square, 34.80 because you do not put steel nails next to copper. None of that was in Chubb's number. All of it is required.
So defend them. What's a cleat?
A cleat's the hidden clip that holds copper down while letting it move. And copper moves, it expands and contracts a ton with heat. You face nail copper like an amateur, it buckles and tears within a year. Z-closures seal the open ends. Hand seaming is a craftsman folding and locking every seam by hand. And solder, real copper is soldered with a torch on a bench by somebody who knows what they're doing. That's the shop fabrication and solder labor line. It is not an upgrade, it is the job.
And the authority, the Copper Development Association and SMACNA, literally specify cleat spacing, seam types, and soldering for water tightness. If a carrier wants to delete the solder line, they're telling us to build it wrong. We cite the standard, the line stays. And it's not only copper they left off. The single biggest omission on the whole estimate? Interlayment felt. The Cedar Shake and Shingle Bureau, Code Section R905-8.3, requires a strip of number 30 felt woven between every course of shake. It's not optional, it's in the code. 87 squares of it at $175 a square, $15,225. Chubb's estimate, not a single foot of it.
You build a cedar roof without interlayment. You've just built a slower leak. That's the whole product.
Then add the starter course and edge details, $1,500. Scaffolding and OSHA fall protection, because the law 1926 subpart M says you can't put crews on a 1212 without it, $3,500. Waste disposal and recycling handling, $1,200. Permit and inspection fees that Metro Nashville requires, $600. Every one of those Chubb left at zero. Every one of those is mandatory.
Place 2 for the copper, the valley pan width. Code and the CDA say a copper valley is 12 inches off centerline each side, 24 minimum, and wider on long runs, an inch per side for every 8 feet over 12. This roof's got over 300 feet of valley, some in long runs. Code correct copper there is wider, which is more 16-ounce material, which is a supplement backed by
The building code.
which has no feelings, kind of like asking Brent how his weekend was.
My weekend was fine, Gil. It was actually really good. I took my daughter out to the lake and we...
He's cracking! Shelby, write it down, 2:15 on a Friday. Brent volunteered a feeling.
The valley pan. Per code. Moving up.
That is the most words I have ever heard that man say about himself.
And the standing seam underlayment, synthetic for 312 and up, self-adhered high-temp membrane for the vulnerable details, 40 mil, 240-degree rating. We make sure the quantities they listed actually cover everything the manufacturer requires. If they short the coverage,
Supplement, per manufacturer specifications.
the 4 magic words, the cheat code. My turn. And this one isn't even on the estimate yet. This is the trap I guarantee is coming. The second we send Chubb a supplement that adds 130 grand, they're going to go looking for a way to claw some back. On a copper roof, that weapon has a name, the salvage credit.
They can just subtract money from my claim?
They'll try, because old copper is worth money as scrap. And when they run the play, they'll show their work. Watch. 1 pound per square foot of copper roof, half a pound per foot of flashing, and gutter, add it all up, about 1,860 pounds, times $3.15 a pound off some recycling website. Comes to right around $5,900. And they'll deduct it like it's nothing.
So, is that allowed? Copper is worth scrap, right?
This is the nuanced part, and you've got to be sharp. Sometimes salvage is legit, but there are 3 ways to fight it, and we'll be ready with all 3. 1, who actually keeps the salvage? If nobody's pocketing that copper, if stripping, sorting, and hauling 1,800 pounds of copper off a 1212 roof costs more in labor than the scrap's worth, there's no real benefit to credit. You don't deduct a benefit nobody receives.
And half that copper's bonded with solder, fasteners, sealant, 80 years of patina. It's not clean copper, it's contaminated. That $3.15 a pound is clean copper pricing. Demo copper off a roof goes for way less.
So the weight might be right and the price still be a fairy tale. That's fight number 2, the price source. They pull one number off one website on one day. We document a realistic, lower number for contaminated demo copper, and the credit shrinks them. And 3, the assassin move, the salvage credit can't quietly become a way to underpay the replacement. D's owed a roof. If a salvage credit is real, fine, but it doesn't get to reduce what it costs to build a new one. We make sure that credit isn't doing double duty.
So the play isn't delete it. The play is make it honest.
Exactly. Maybe the real, contaminated, labor-adjusted salvage is $2,000, not $6,000. That's $3,000 or $4,000 defended. We don't rage delete it, we correct it with documentation. Photos of dirty demo copper, a real scrap quote for contaminated material, a note on who's keeping it and what it costs to recover.
And that's the difference between a contractor whining and a supplement that wins.
Whining is, that's not fair. Winning is, here's the corrected figure, 3 sources attached, please reissue. Carriers can't argue with documentation. They can only argue with feelings, and they are undefeated against feelings.
And this is where I want to bring in the thing that made all of this real. Because none of these arguments matter if you can't prove the roof.
The camera.
Every single day on D's roof, we ran company cam. Every tear-off section, every layer of decking, every piece of copper coming off, every nail pattern, every hidden split in a shake that the adjuster never saw from the ground. By the end, that project timeline had over 1,400 photos.
1,400. I scrolled it one night. It's like a documentary of my own house.
And that, folks, is the secret weapon of this entire series. The supplement isn't one with the arguments, it's one with the evidence behind the arguments. Every claim we just made, the waste, the missing interlayment, the copper craft, the contaminated salvage, we can put a time-stamped photo behind it. You can argue with Gil. You cannot argue with 1,400 photographs.
The camera doesn't get tired and it doesn't lie. 2 things I can't say about myself.
3 things to take to the bank, literally.
1. Waste factor. 10% on a cut-up cedar roof with 300 feet of valley is fiction. 15 to 20 is defensible. And the proof is on the carrier's own estimate.
2. On D's first estimate, overhead and profit was a flat 0. And when carriers don't zero it out, they bury it with 4 boring words, excluded from O&P calculation. On a complex, multi-trade, 6-figure job, O&P is owed on the whole thing. 20%. On this roof, that's $70,000, the single biggest piece of the supplement.
3. Copper is craft, not decoration. Cleats, Z closures, hand seaming, soldering, shop fab, stainless fasteners, code correct valley widths, none of it optional. And the cedar needs interlayment felt by code. All of it per manufacturer specifications and per code.
Bonus, salvage credits. When they come, don't delete them, correct them. And underneath all of it, document everything. 1,400 photos. The evidence is the weapon. Add it all up, interlayment, fasteners, cleats, solder, scaffold, permit, the real waste, and 20% O&P. And the supplement we built came to $134,811. Revised cost of the roof, $443,000. Next episode, we go make Chubb pay it.
That's the war room. We found the waste, the zero-O&P massacre, the copper and code items they left off, and the salvage trap before it sprung. And we backed every bit of it with the camera.
Next time, the fight itself. We submit the supplement. We go round for round with the adjuster, and we pull out the one thing carriers really don't want homeowners to know about.
The appraisal clause. It's in almost every policy, and it changes who holds the power. They're going to hate that we said it out loud.
I'm D. They started me $100,000 short and left another 100 plus off the estimate. Next episode, you find out how much we got back.
Spoiler, I bought a new torch.
This was The Supplement from Ostermiller Inc. See you for the finale.